But you have to keep pushing through, and that's all I do is believe in my preparation, believe in the people I've surrounded myself by or with. Oh, this is crazy, man. I'm sorry, I'm shaking. Yeah, it's really hard to control this right now.
Edson Barboza versus Justin Gaethje. Two savages went at it this weekend. If you guys don't already know, Edson Barboza went 25-3 in Muay Thai, got like 22 knockouts. He's got a bunch of knockouts. He got knockouts from body kicks. He got knockouts from leg kicks. He's a savage. He's an elite striker. He's been striking since he was like 4 years old. And he went up against Justin Gaethje, who started striking as like an adult. He had been wrestling his whole life, and he only started striking when he started MMA, if that makes sense. So on paper, it seems like Edson should have the stand-up game in the bag. You know what I mean? He should have it, like, it should be his playing ground, and he should control the whole fight. But spoiler alert, I'm going to go over the whole fight. I'm going to go over every reason why Justin ended up dominating most of the fight. But before I get into this, I'd like to congratulate Edson Barboza on having a beautiful baby girl. I saw it on his Instagram. I hope he's doing well. But if you guys like this content, you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. These take me a long time, so comment what fight you want me to do next. I wish I could do all the fights, but I can't because I got a job. So jumping right into this, Barboza, like, this also plays into like another theory I have, that like having a little bit of fat on you makes you less susceptible to getting knocked out, and it makes you like more able to absorb a punch. I first came up with this theory when I saw Ben Askren get his head almost like, it looked like he got a nail driven through it, how hard Robbie Lawler was punching him. But like the whole time he was holding on, he was like, you don't do this unconscious. Alright, so the fight starts, they touch gloves, they meet in the middle, and immediately Justin is feigning and he's pressuring forward, okay? They both pressure forward in the beginning, right? Edson also feints, he steps forward, he misses a leg kick, it looks like Justin lands both of his leg kicks, and they went completely unchecked. Edson lands that leg kick, goes unchecked, Justin lands a leg kick, goes unchecked, Edson lands a leg kick, goes unchecked. Gaethje presses forward, and it looks like Edson takes a big leap back, and then Gaethje takes another step forward. So as soon as his front foot lands, he's bringing his back foot back forward to like take another step closer, and Edson just stands where he's at. So watch Justin's penetration step. He takes a huge step forward right in between Edson's legs and punches him square in the body. Barboza throws a left hand and it goes right over Gaethje's shoulder. He saw him back up once, and then he committed to like the second step being a level change and throwing a body shot, and he anticipated Edson's left hand coming, and he slipped it. So this isn't like his other fights. In his other fights, it was very much like his wrestling matches, where he, like, for example, against Eddie Alvarez, he was treating his fights a lot like wrestling matches, where he would focus on defending and countering instead of slipping the punches, instead of avoiding damage. You know what I mean? In wrestling, it's okay to like block a shot with your head, you know what I mean? Because you don't take damage like that. You're not getting knocked out. So it's understandable to like, you want to minimize the amount of time it's going to take for you to fire off your shot. You know what I mean? So I can understand how in his mind it would be like it would make more sense to be able to block and throw instead of stepping out of the way and walking back in. Like, it would make sense in a wrestler's mind, because like that's what's most effective. When someone shoots, you defend it. You sprawl, you put your head in the way, you put your chest in the way. You don't try to circle away. You don't try to like run away from them, because then you can't counter. Then you can't work like your front headlock. Then you can't work your cow catcher, your bulldog, or you can't work, you know what I mean? The three-quarter Nelson. So in this fight, you see Justin slipping a lot more. He slips a lot more. He's not just eating punches, because like even when you're covered up like this, something hitting your arm, like if someone punches your arm really hard, and even if you cover up, like your head's still shaking, you're still taking damage, and you're still way more susceptible to letting him find his opening, you know what I mean? So Justin lands a body shot, he slips his left hand, he slips his right hand, they both reset, and they both take a step forward, and they're right back into the pocket, okay? And I can't really tell what happens if Barboza throws like a straight left or he throws a body shot. But what Gaethje does is he does like a spin like this with his arm, and he like wherever his arm was, whether it was here or it was down by his body, he ended up going like this and like karate kidding him. It's like he parries it and he ends up on the outside of his elbow. You know what I mean? So he's able to pinch his elbow, right? If he was in between his elbows and like his arm, he was underneath his arm, he wouldn't have been able to do this. But he pinches his arm with his head, right? So he pushes into him with his head. This arm continues windmilling and grabs his neck, right? So he's pinching, he's got his neck, and he grabs a knee. So he's controlling a knee, a neck, and his arm. And then he lets go of the knee, and he tries to bring the palm of his hand into his fist. You know what I mean? So he goes like this. So he's got the knee, and he goes like with his head still pinching, and he's trying to do like an overhand right straight into his head while stepping away. But Barboza is smart, and Barboza's smart, and so they circle back, they reset. Justin immediately is the one to pressure into him. Barboza barely gets his stance before Justin's already like in his face throwing a kick. And as soon as the kick lands, Barboza's throwing his own kick and it lands. Okay, and kicks from both of these guys suck. I was watching their highlights on ESPN, and like I would not want to get kicked by either of these people ever. All right, and here you can see Barboza takes a step back. Looking to reset, looking to regain his area, but Justin just keeps on walking forward. You know what I mean? And then Justin defends perfectly. What he does is he leans on his back foot and he throws his arm up and he takes the whole impact of Barboza's head kick. You know what I mean? His arm takes the whole impact. His head doesn't shake at all. He's right back into a stance and he's right back into pressuring Barboza. Watching this live, it looked like it was all happening in fast forward. It has taken me so long. This is like my 50th take. It has taken me so long to dissect it. So Barboza looks like he's loading up for a hook, but he actually goes for a body shot, all right? And Justin thinks that it's a hook, I think. He thinks that it's a hook, and he slips it like it's a hook, and it connects to his body, okay? And Justin was gonna go for his own body shot, and it lands like kind of on the outside of his rib cage, like behind his arm. So Barboza definitely won that part of the exchange. But what happens next is Justin goes with like a club. It looks like if it was a hook, it was a fist so that it could be a hook, but it hit his forearm. So he just kept it there and then he turned that into a collar tie. But he ended up grabbing the back of Barboza's head and just pushing his head into a beautiful uppercut, right? He just shoves his head into a beautiful uppercut. This is worst case scenario in fighting, you know what I mean? This only happens like in traditional fighting styles. If like you fake someone, if like let's say you fake a jab, they slip right, and then you catch them with a straight right hand, or you catch them with a right hook, you catch them leaning into it. That's the only time it happens in traditional striking. But now, since wrestling has been introduced, it's legal and it's super effective. So he hits him with an uppercut and he hits him with a hook. The right hand misses and Barboza is clearly out of it, right? And Barboza clearly looks rocked, right? He throws a right hand a mile away from Justin. Okay, a mile away from him. It would have never hit him on the chin. Like, even if Justin just stood where he was, didn't lean back at all, it would have never hit him on the chin. All right, and as he's overextended, as his hand's down, Justin, it looks like he steps through, or he really sits on like a right hook, and then follows it up with another right hook from the hip. And then he hits him with another forearm. He hits him with a forearm to like push him and get him at an angle. He uses forearm, he pushes him, he gets him at an angle. So like his right foot is on the outside of Barboza's left foot. So it's like hard to punch him. He's like kind of on the outside of his elbow. So Justin finds the angle. He's got him at a distance. He's got him at fingers distance. And Barboza throws a right hand to like he throws a right hand from a mile away that like would have never hit him, I think, to try and switch his hips over and like so that he wasn't in bad foot position. You know what I mean? Because that's what he did. His hips were like this. Right? And his foot was over here. So he threw the right hand in hopes to like, I guess, step out and not be in bad foot position, if that makes sense. But he's pushed up against the fence. Justin's keeping him at arm's reach and then throws an uppercut, and I can't tell if it connects or not. Justin throws an uppercut and Barboza throws a right hook. I can't tell if either of them connect just because of the camera blur. Justin throws another right hook and he misses, and then he's immediately circling out. And if you guys look, when Justin was like posting out on him, he clearly pokes Barboza in the eye for a second. You know what I mean? I think Barboza could have easily been like, and stopped the fight right there and gotten like an extra 10 seconds of break and had them restart, but he didn't. So good on Barboza. So he's circling out, and it looks like Justin sees Barboza. They're circling out. Barboza wants to reset. Justin wants to fight. Justin's pressuring into him, and it looks like Justin takes a step forward, and he's anticipating something, right? And he sees his knee go up, and he slips right, and he just, like, Barboza's hands go right past him, and Justin's arm eats the whole knee. So, like, nothing even happened to him. And then from here, from the clinch, Justin does a lot of really good work, right? He does a lot of things that I haven't seen before, especially because, like, in normal striking, you're not allowed to work in the clinch. It's, like, really frowned upon. But in MMA, 40% of wrestling is in the clinch, you know what I mean? So now you can, like, there's a whole lot of dirty boxing. So Justin's got an underhook, and he's pushing him up against the wall. Punches, you can see him start to throw punches at his thighs. Because, like, Barboza can only really protect one thing at a time when you're, like, leaning up against the wall, you know what I mean? He's putting pressure on his shoulder, trying to create some space. If I were Barboza, I'd probably try and, like, I wouldn't get the overhook so deep because I don't got an underhook. I would probably keep this collar tie, try to grab his elbow and get my elbow in between his forearm and mine. So I'd be holding onto his elbow. So I would be right here, right? His arm would be right here. And I would try to grab his elbow and bring my arm in here, create some space really quick, and duck under. Ideally, like that's really the only thing I can see from here, because, like, when you're pushed up against the fence, that, like, really blows. Whatever Barboza's defending, Justin is attacking with everything else, you know what I mean? He's holding onto his arms, he starts throwing knees. He starts blocking his knees, he starts throwing punches. And now, watch what Justin does. Barboza thinks he's controlling his arm, right? Barboza thinks he's controlling his arm, and Justin's like, alright, I got him. I feel like I can see him thinking, right? He's like, alright, he's holding onto my, like, he looks at it, and he doesn't do anything with the arm. And then he twists back, like, in, like, one explosion. He twists back, comes over, and connects, perfectly. Barboza thought he had control of that arm, but he was nowhere near controlling that arm. You know what I mean? Whatever Barboza tries to control, Justin starts attacking with everything else. So Barboza's got the overhook, and he's got, like, a collar tie, right? He circles out, he tries to get off the fence, and then Justin goes from having an underhook to... It looks like he's over his elbow, he's over his shoulder, and got, like, a collar tie. So Edson's got, like, inside control, and Justin's got a collar tie. And Justin uses his hand to push Edson's head into an uppercut. I think. I don't know if that was a punch to the body, but it looked like it was an uppercut. And he had been doing that earlier in the fight, so I don't be surprised. And from right here, it looks like if Justin holds on to Edson's arm, if Justin were to grab onto Edson's left arm, he could head throw him and put him on his back. You know what I mean? Like, this looks like he's about to get head thrown right here. But he doesn't. Justin uses it to create space and follows up with a fat right hand, a huge haymaker that Barboza's just out of reach for. They reset. Barboza misses a leg kick. Barboza throws another kick straight to the body, and it lands, but it lands with, like, the top of his foot, it looks like. But Justin does not care. He presses right back into him, and, like, as soon as Barboza's feet reset, like, literally the second, Barboza doesn't even get a chance to, like, get a wide stance. As soon as his foot lands, he's already throwing a punch, you know what I mean? Like, Justin is already throwing the punch as soon as Barboza's in his stance. He had no time to be aggressive because he wasn't in his stance yet, if that makes sense. Justin was already ready and pushing into him. So he lands the right hand first. So as soon as Barboza's in his stance, Justin steps in and throws a fat left hand, and he slips Barboza's left hand, circling out. Barboza throws a haymaker of a body kick, and Justin's just out of reach. Barboza throws the body kick again. Barboza throws a 1-2. The one was, like, really far out, but that 2 would have connected if he just stood there. And Justin showed some good slipping. And now right here, this is really interesting what Justin does. He fakes with a right hand, steps through, switches his stance. He steps through, switches his stance, hits him with a left hook, keeps it there as a collar tie, connects with a right hook, and then throws another left hand that just barely misses. And then Barboza responds right back with a left hand and another right, and hits him with a hook. They start circling out, they try to reset, but this fight happens so fast, Justin just keeps on pressuring back into him. Justin throws another uppercut. He gets his face turned by a jab from Barboza. but he ducks the haymaker. And as they're circling back out, Justin throws a left hand, ducks Barboza's right, throws his own right hand that sticks on Barboza. Barboza throws his own left hand that sticks on Justin. Justin throws a left hand that Barboza slips. And then he throws a right hand that lands right on his chin, or like right on his cheekbone, it looks like. Barboza just barely misses his right hand. It looks like he just touches him with a jab. And Barboza's just swinging for the fences. He's in the pocket and he's just swinging for the fences. He gets pushed onto the fence, starts circling out, looking to reset. Justin just keeps on pressing forward, stepping forward, one foot in front of the other. And then again, Edson doesn't get more than a second to reset before Justin's already throwing in a jab and sticking him, reminding him that he's in a fight. You know what I mean? Edson gets maybe 2-3 seconds to reset, and then Justin's always the first person to throw. Justin's always the first person to throw. You know what I mean? He's always the first person to throw the punch. He controls where the pressure is. He controls where the fight's at right now. Justin throws a mean leg kick, and right here it looks like it seems to me like Barboza's tired. It seems like he's really tired. But then again, he throws a nasty leg kick that just completely kicks Justin's leg right out from under him, throws him off balance, and then they keep on circling. Justin just keeps on pressing forward. He checks that leg kick, thankfully, because Barboza I'm sure any one of those leg kicks could break your leg if it lands wrong. He did this earlier in the fight and it was pretty successful, but look what he does here. He picks up his left foot to step forward, right, so that he can transfer all of his weight into his fist. You know what I mean? He puts all of his weight into his fist, and then when he's overextended, he brings that back foot forward, switching his stance, and then he turns his torso, and it's like he's in Wonder Boy stance. You know what I mean? And he just throws that right hand again, and he's just perfectly in range. Hits Barboza right on the chin when he's not even expecting it. I don't see, I see Max Holloway do this, where he switches his stance, where he steps through to cover distance, and that's about it. I don't really see anyone else that's ambidextrous that can fight like that. And 3 strikers have been taken out this way. I think it's because traditional strikers are very used to their head generally stays in the same position. It stays in the same spot. Their body stays in the same spot. You know what I mean? You're not allowed to clinch. You're not allowed to grab. You're not allowed to wrestle. And now that it's coming into MMA, this is it's changing the game a lot. You know what I mean? Before, stepping in and being in the pocket for a long time was a death wish. But now that you can wrestle, now that you can clinch, now that you can get overhooks, you can get underhooks, you can control people, you can do jiu-jitsu, that it changes the whole sport of boxing. And for this, I really do believe Justin is changing the game. I really do think Justin's innovating the striking game. Because you can see here, this is a lifetime striker. This is one of the best strikers on the planet. You know what I mean? And Justin just completely changed it up on him. He couldn't even and I think a big reason why Barboza had so much trouble with Justin is because in striking, really, you're only in the pocket for very short periods of time. You know what I mean? You're out of the pocket, you guys are out of striking distance, and then you take a step forward, and you're in striking distance, and then that's when you start throwing your combinations, you start throwing your slips, you know what I mean? And the reason why they do this is because getting hit in the head sucks. It's it's not fun, and it does a lot of damage. It's really not good for you to get hit in the head. So people avoid it at all costs, right? So they just stand out, and then they go in, they stand out, they go in. Karate's a lot like this. It's almost like tag, where you just get in the pocket for a second and you get out. Whereas with wrestling, that's what happens after you're in the pocket. You know what I mean? The entire sport of wrestling is fought in the pocket. You know what I mean? You're working with people's fastest actions and react. You're working with the absolute highest level of your own reaction time. And I think having this comfort, having Justin being such a high level wrestler and having this comfort, I think that's a big reason why his fighting style was the way it was against where he would eat a bunch of the punches and not really try to slip or get out of the way, used too much footwork, and he would just try to defend and counter. You know what I mean? Because that's how it is in wrestling. You sprawl, you know what I mean? You sprawl and circle. You use your head to defend. You use your chest, you use your arms. You don't just push them away and circle away, because then you lose every chance you have to counter. You lose the ability to capitalize on their mistakes, which in wrestling it makes sense, But as you can see in his other fights, he was taking a lot of damage. He was eating a lot of punches. He was getting bloody. You know what I mean? Just staying in the pocket. Like, even if you block, getting punched and having your head shake does damage to your brain. So I'm happy to see that in this fight, he was using a lot more head moving. He was using a lot more darting in and out, but he still maintained that wrestler pressure. He still maintained his ability to like close the distance and time his opponent's reaction, because like that's what he's best at. Now what I personally as a viewer think and a fan of Edson Barboza think that he needs to work on is his cage control. You know what I mean? He needs to work on his wrestling. He needs to work on getting underhooks, threatening those things, and like keeping your opponent at a distance, because he would take one step back and then he would just let Justin, you know what I mean, chase him and just like chase him down. He wasn't like using good footwork. He could have been like running around Justin the whole time trying to throw leg kicks, you know what I mean, trying to keep him at a distance, but he was just letting himself get pushed up to the cage too often. He was letting himself be on the outside of the black ring. You know what I mean? He had his back to the cage too often. So he didn't have room to move. It seemed like either way he went, he was trapped. I don't think this says anything about Barboza's chin, because they both took a lot of shots, you know what I mean? Barboza took a lot of shots in that fight, and he stayed up. I think a big reason why he got knocked out was because he wasn't expecting the punch. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, he was circling out with his hands down. Like the last thing he was thinking was a punch was going to be coming. You know what I mean? He thought he was safe. So honestly, I think it's only a matter of time before like people stop training wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and Muay Thai and boxing and kickboxing before they just start training like mixed martial arts, and like all the things are chained together, where like wrestling moves and boxing moves have been put together, and like that's what Justin's doing. He's putting the footwork from wrestling into striking. He's using like the control from wrestling into striking. Now all that needs to happen is people do that with jiu-jitsu, and people add striking into wrestling, you know what I mean? Like people, like the ground and pound aspect, you know what I mean? Like I want to see some like actual technical ground and pound. If you guys like that video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment what fight you guys want me to break down next. But until next time, I'll see you guys